In a piece in Spectator back in May, after the budget, I wrote that Peter Dutton was now looking prime ministerial. And all these issues, cost of living, immigration, the NDIS hopelessly out of control, a housing crisis the government itself had created, the release of dangerous detainees, the Albanese government was not looking just tired, but increasingly incompetent. I said that in all of these areas, Dutton is closer to the electorate than the Albanese government. I wrote that as to energy, Dutton had sensibly indicated that the nuclear energy ban, which is in federal government legislation, would be repealed. But, I said, to avoid the inevitable scare campaign, Mr. Dutton would be wise to indicate that decisions on specific locations of nuclear-powered stations was best reserved to the states and to the people, as indeed the Constitution always intended. Unfortunately, instead, Peter Dutton, I think, has made a mistake, and that's the subject of a piece by Mr. Kelly in The Australian, Paul Kelly, who takes a similar position, I'm pleased to say, to myself. The problem is, Mr. Dutton has made the next election a referendum on nuclearisation, which gets Mr. Albanese off the hook over all the messes he has created. Nuclearisation is now the distraction, and it allows Labor to do what they are expert in doing, running a scare campaign, which is what they're already doing straight away, immediately after Peter Dutton had announced the nuclearisation policy. And despite the fact that nuclear power is widely used across the world, the government decided to embark on a scare campaign. Now, the latest news poll indicates Australians reject the Dutton plan, 45 to 42, and it's among women there's a particular problem. Only 32% of women approve the Dutton nuclearisation plan. Now, why are Australians reluctant to engage in nuclearisation? The answer is the media and our education system. I mentioned last week that Chris Kenny of The Australian made the very important point that most of the media push the Labor Greens position in relation to climate, in relation to energy. That is, most of the media is biased in favour of the Labor position. And if on top of that, the left has taken over the educational system, we have a problem in relation to the people of Australia making the good decisions we need to be made. So I think the Liberals are making a mistake. As I said about their running of the Dunkley by-election, when they completely ignored a new announcement from an international body which exposed the Albanese government to great criticism. They didn't even use that in the by-election. The Liberals effectively are inviting an early election dominated by nuclearisation. Incidentally, in that piece in May, I said an early election was possible, perhaps especially after a likely royal visit in October. And that looks as though that could well be the situation now. The Albanese government will be let off the hook by this concentration on nuclearisation. It was better to say, we're just going to abandon the ban on nuclearisation, but we're going to leave it to the states and the people to decide what should happen in relation to the major power stations. In criticising Peter Dutton over his policy of nuclearisation, not the substance, but the way in which he is proceeding and handing an issue to the government to cover up all their messes, One good thing was that Peter Dutton has proceeded without challenging the theory of man-made global warming. Apart from the theory being challenged by many eminent scientists, there's a very important political consideration. The likely Republican candidate in the November election, Donald Trump, has previously declared global warming as a hoax. As president, he's likely to remove the United States from any commitment to it, including to any zero-emission policy. I suspect that this will result in a worldwide variation of Hans Christian Andersen's fable, with the president revealing that the emperor is wearing no clothes and that global warming is a hoax. Now, everybody knows, or vast numbers of people in public life know, that climate catastrophism is extreme and not necessary, yet they engage in it for political purposes. Except for those blinded by ideology or heavily invested in green technology, an increasing number of people suspect that the West is being taken for a very big ride. It's curious then that the ruling classes who so strongly reject Donald Trump will probably need someone of his strength as the leader of the West before they admit the truth. This is that climate catastrophism only serves the interests of Beijing and the so-called renewables investors.